one of the things people say is like a symptom of what's happening right now is the virtual exodus. People preferring to live in the virtual world rather than the real world. There's a couple good books around this, and it's become problematic. You know, it's problematic for a very significant subpopulation in Japan right now. But anyways, think about a video game and think about what it gives you, right? You get the rules, but the rules are they're relevant to you. You fit them. You know how to fit into that nomological structure. There's a narrative, and you know what your role is in that narrative. And of course, you know how to level up. It's clearly part of the game. And so you can see that these games are so attractive. I mean, there's other things they're doing with sensory motor and, gratification, but they're also so attractive because they're supplying, in at least temporarily, a sense of belonging to these missing orders.
Do you think that, therefore, something like video game addiction, which is something that you see and often gets associated with people who are a little bit sort of nihilistic and depressed, do you think that something like that is the result of the meaning crisis, or more like a cause of it?
Well, I mean, this kind of whenever you're involved in a process that's multi-leveled, recursive, and self-organizing, it's hard to talk about clear causal lines. I think there's good historical argument that many of the factors that historically drive the meaning crisis, precede the advent of the virtual world, especially games. I think games exacerbate it. I think when the WHO sort of acknowledged this as a real thing, what happened is in a couple of my courses, I was really lucky. Some of my students took this up as a topic for a theoretical research paper, and a bunch of them. One of them, who had been such an addict, and he talked about that. He talked about how it exacerbated things. And the basic idea is you get that world in which you belong, and you can get into the flow state. I mean that in the technical sense that Csikszentmihalyi talks about. And the problem is these worlds are typically, not always, but they're typically not set up to transfer well to the real world. And so you get flow within, and you get a disconnection without. And so what starts to happen is you start to return more and more of the game. And then you start, by contrast, to see the world as less and less affording of flow. And then you get caught in this very sort of vicious place, and you get sort of locked into the game. Your world sort of reciprocally narrows, and your sense of agency reciprocally narrows down to that. And then the world becomes a very dark place as that process unfolds. So I think it definitely exacerbates people's experience of the possibility of a dark, absurd, inhospitable world.